So I've put in a decent amount of time to ATLYSS, and I can tell you unequivocally that this game is amazing. But it ain't perfect, and in fact there's a lot of things that I dislike about it. We'll touch upon all of those, but first let's talk about the good. As soon as you get into the game, you're gonna realize how perverted this developer is. I don't really care about it, but I mean, whatever, you know, people are into this sort of thing, I guess. More importantly, when you get in game, my God, it feels good to play. The character's movement abilities and the combat is fantastic. This developer really gets it. You'll grab a bunch of quests, can roll for gear in the shop or put stuff in storage to share amongst your other characters. There's a bunch of overworld areas to explore, but there's also repeatable dungeons. And for $10, it's fantastic. But that doesn't mean that I don't have my complaints. Despite how fun the combat can be, certain enemies have terrible readability. Their attacks are hard enough to see when you're alone, let alone when you get into a group. Good luck. Which wouldn't be so bad, except you die in a couple hits. And the worst aspect of this game is the fact that you don't instantly respawn in the same room you were just in. You have to do a painful walk back to where you were. The enemies already heal to full health when you die anyways. Isn't that punishment enough? Just respawn me. Also, the overworld itself can be pretty confusing to navigate because so many of these areas look the same. I'm not necessarily saying that their design looks similar, it's most of all because the game's got such a simplistic art style. I found myself getting lost a lot, and having a mini-map for the overworld would be great because we already have a mini-map in the dungeons. These are just little nitpicks, but by far the worst aspect of this game right now is that there's not enough content. As soon as you get to level 10, you'll notice that your XP goes at a crawl. You're expected to grind the same quest multiple times to get a single level. And on top of that, there's only really 2 dungeons in the game right now. Sure, you can upscale the dungeon difficulty, which will mostly just end up changing the enemies that you fight, but the layout of the dungeon is very simple and only has a couple options. It gets very, very repetitive, very, very fast. Regardless of all of that, I still think that this game is worth recommending, because it's super cheap and you can play it with up to 16 people in a single lobby. If the lack of content scares you away, then you could always wait. But at the moment, even with the lack of content, I still got 10 hours out of it, which is more than I can say about most indie games.